Welcome to Tansson TV Plus. Of course, I'm Brandon,
And I'm Mom.
and thank you so much for joining us here today. We always love doing this. And Mom, how are you doing today?
I am doing fine today, Brandon. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking.
You're welcome, Brandon.
Yeah, and Mom, what show are we speaking about here today in our first episode?
Yep, it is our first episode today, and we're going to talk about Family Reunion, and I'm referring to the Netflix show from 2019.
Yes, and as you mentioned, it did debut in 2019 and conclude in 2022. And Mom, I'm excited to go over this first episode.
I know, so am I, Brandon. So am I. Overall, this show is about parents who actually come down for a family reunion. They come down from Seattle, Washington, to Georgia, and they're on her husband's side of the family. And they're there initially just for a short visit and to, of course, be with the family during the reunion. They discover while they're there that they really enjoy their time there and they think it's good for the family, and they decide to stay in Georgia.
Well, Mom, thank you so much for that.
You are welcome, Brandon.
And I can say, of course, I have not seen the series prior to us watching. What about you?
Brandon, I have never seen this series.
Yeah, but I will say that it was on our to watch list for an awfully long time.
I actually had it initially listed as a favorite so that I can go and watch it, but I have never seen it. So it was really, I will say, enjoyable to watch this show.
Yes, it really was enjoyable to watch. And this first episode is titled "Remember How This All Started."
Yes, yes.
And Mom, what'd you think of the first episode?
I thoroughly enjoyed the first episode. I really, really did. And I'm not really surprised, but I think we both just sat and watched and said, "Oh, why haven't we watched this? Why didn't we watch this sooner?" Um, but yes, because the first episode really was about the family deciding to move down to Georgia. And I thought for initiating events, they had a clear initiating event for this show. um, they had some time to develop a little bit of the characterization, meaning that the parents who came down, they were, I don't want to say new school, but they were very they were not traditional in their parenting, I should say. And so, but the grandmother was a very traditional person with parenting, and so and the beliefs of both of them differed, and so that is really some of the premise of the show is the different opinions of how they should parent their children. And with four kids, that means that there's a lot of differences going on there. Um, and so, but the way they presented it was very nice, and I just thought they did a really nice job.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And even though that this was, I believe, was it about half an hour, a little bit more, a little bit less?
Yeah, give or take about a half hour or so.
Yeah, even though this definitely felt like, yeah, even though this was just about half an hour, give or take, is they got a lot of information into this one episode, and it didn't feel crammed though.
No, it did not feel crammed at all. I mean, they got a chance to develop the parents. Got a chance to develop the grandparents, and one of their children. They really didn't go into much depth for the other three children, but at least their oldest daughter, they were able to give some depth to. But then they had some side characters that they were able to kind of bring in too.
Yeah, and so it definitely was so interesting, and I feel like we got so much characterization, maybe not for each individual character, but quite a bit at least got the initial characterization out of the way, which is pretty impressive for such a large group of people.
Yes, it is.
And before we go any further, I did want to ask, Mom, would you continue watching the series?
I will continue watching it, Brandon. We were trying to decide if your daddy would like it too, and we've decided we think he will like it. So we're going to introduce him. We'll have to rewatch the first episode so he'll know what's going on, but we're going to introduce him to the show.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited to see him watch the series, um, and yeah, I mean, we were going to actually continue watching a few more, but we wanted to make sure to make this video first.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, and what's interesting is I was looking into even how the seasons are. Is so even though under technicality there are 3 seasons, it seems that it was actually released as 5 parts in a special.
Yeah, yeah, I did see that, and that I thought that was interesting. But of course, with Netflix, releasing multiple episodes at one time, I guess they were able to do this in parts per se, as you said mentioned.
But yeah, but overall, I'm pretty excited to get into the series. I'm excited to see how they develop everything, um, throughout. And Mom, what do you think about the character Madeir?
I like the character Madeir. Um, like you said, I thought they did a great job, kind of developing her as a character and showing her perspective on things, and just seeing as she kind of interacts with the family in itself. She is a strong lady.
Oh, most definitely. And yeah, it's so interesting because I think she was definitely a major standout from this, but I'm curious to see how the other characters continue to develop because, as you're mentioning, with the different parenting styles, is what's interesting is the show presents it where not necessarily that Madeira is right per se, but that the parents' parenting style is just very weak.
Yeah, yeah, they do kind of make it seem like that, and in fact, the parents seem to be scared of Madeira herself, also. So it'll be interesting to see how they kind of work with that dynamic a little later.
Yeah, it definitely is, and I'm definitely excited to see the show in its progression, and I like that it is a concluded, even though it's a concluded series. That I truly do not know what happens after this first episode.
No, actually, Brandon, I don't either. I did read. I'll be quite honest. I did read a little bit of Wikipedia while I was doing a little research on the show. So I did see how some of the plot's going to carry along, but of course, that doesn't equate to watching the show.
But yeah, so I'm definitely excited to watch the show. And Mom, before we head into our connections, is there anything else that you wanted to mention?
Yeah. Once more, I'm starting to rate the shows, and with the rating system 1 to 5, with 5 being the highest, and I gave this one a 4 because it did make me laugh. It had some serious drama to it at the same time. It was just kind of I thought it was a nice spectrum, so they did a great job.
Yeah, and I definitely will agree with you for that with the same rating. I thought it did a pretty good job for a first episode, and made me very excited to see what the future has to hold.
Yep, same here, Brandon. Same here.
And yeah, and Mom, I think you can guess what the main connection is going to be here.
I think so. I bet you're going to talk about Tia.
And yes, I am. So for the main actress that plays Coco, Tia Mowry, we know her from Sister Sister and from Instant Mom.
Yes, we do. We've tackled both of those shows.
Yes, and so it's excited to see her in another role. And what would you say stands out to? Does anything stand out to you, in sort of for her in this role compared to some of her other roles?
Well, I think Tia has developed as an actress, and so each of hers now are just a little different. But she has played a mother figure in several different shows that we've watched, along with some of the TV movies that we've seen also with her in it. And so this kind of goes along with some of the characters that she's played before.
Yeah, it definitely does. And I'm actually going to connect it a little bit to Instant Mom in that one for that show. Her character is learning how to be a mother
Mm.
and sort of figuring it out on the spot. In this case, with the family now here in Georgia and them living with Madeir, is that she's sort of teaching or reteaching her and her husband how to be parents, but more so how to be effective parents.
Yes, yes, yes. My dear is trying to do that.
And even though we're not going to spoil it here, I will say that perhaps there are some secrets that we can learn about Madeir.
Yes, Madeira does have some secrets, and she does not want anyone to know what she does.
Absolutely. But I will say that we do have one other connection with a guest.
Oh, we do. Who's our connection?
That is with Madeir's sister.
Oh, yeah, Thelma Hopkins. Yes, and go ahead, Brandon. Tell the audience where we're connecting her from.
Yes, we are connecting her from From one, Are We There Yet, where she plays the grandma,
Yes.
Marilyn.
Yes. Yep. We sure are. We
And
Tell
we
me
have,
how. Oh, go
okay,
ahead.
go.
I was saying, Tell me how was played in so many episodes. I was trying to see where else you're connecting to her to.
Well, Mom, what was the other one you were going to say?
Um, well, we haven't gone over the show that I'm thinking of. So tell me which show are you thinking about?
Well, I was thinking of the first episode of Family Matters.
Oh yes, that is so true. Yes, Thelma Hopkins has played in many TV shows.
Yes, she has. And it's crazy, as I always say, the more and more connections that we get, truly, it's a giant web of connections.
It is. It is.
But, Mom, is there anything else that you want to say before we go ahead and end out this video?
No, actually, Brandon, like I said, I was pleasantly surprised to see that I liked Family Reunion. And so I encourage the audience to watch the show and see what they think. Please feel free to subscribe if you're interested. And we thank you for joining us again today.
Yes, definitely. And thank you so much. Yes, and have a wonderful day.
All right. Goodbye, everybody.
We'll see you next time.